Most respected Thai, dear Sangha, dear brothers, dear sisters, dear aspirants, today is the 24th of September in the year 2020, and we are in this Assemblies of Stars meditation hall in our autumn rains retreat, and it's really raining. We will enjoy 3 sounds of the bell. Most respected Thai, dear Sangha, in the spring of 2013, on the Asian tour, when Thai was in Thailand, Thai made the Vietnamese version of Ingratitude. Ingratitude, you have something, I've forgotten. In gratitude you have watered seed. You have watered seed. And Thai said that, this music is very good, very wonderful. We really ought to have a good version in Vietnamese. So then we have the version, Giờ đây bên nhau cùng nhau cất tiếng hát, ánh sáng ý thức chúng ta có nhau. Giờ đây bên nhau hát chung mà. Giờ đây bên nhau cùng nào bước đi, thắp sáng ý thức chúng ta hát này. Biết không, ta còn quen nhau, sống vui bên nhau tháng ngày. Giờ đây bên nhau cùng nhau cất tiếng hát, thắp sáng ý thức chúng ta có nhau. Giờ đây bên nhau cùng nhau bước những bước vững chãi tích tu trên đất này. Khó khăn hay là nan nguy, có nhau bên nhau thức thì. Giờ đây bên nhau cùng nhau cất tiếng hát, thắp sáng ý thức chúng ta có nhau. Giờ đây bên nhau cùng nhau bước những bước vững chãi tích tu trên đất này. Có nhau ta còn tương lai, xác vai ta giúp đời. So I very inspired by this song. So the other day, just before the rains retreat, I tried to put it into English so that we could sing it in English also. So it's written on the board. I don't know if it's very inspiring for everybody, but it's the best I could do. Would you be kind enough to help me sing it? It's the same music as In Gratitude. And that is the refrain on your left, and then there's three verses. So, in the here and now we are singing together to light up the fact we have each other. In the here and now we are walking together on our dearest Mother Earth. That we still have each other brings us joy every day. In the here and now we are singing together to light up the fact we have each other. In the here and now we are walking together on our dearest Mother Earth. When there is suffering, we'll be there right away. In the here and now we are singing together to light up the fact we have each other. In the here and now we are walking together on our dearest Mother Earth. No, together we can build the future. Holding hands we help the world. Thank you. Yeah, I think this song is very inspiring. And maybe when Thai wrote it, Thai Kung also had the idea that maybe there'll be a time when we have to be together more than usual. And during these past, since the monastic retreat, we've really been in a monastic retreat. We've been together a lot. And the fact that the Sangha is always there for us. Sometimes we lose a little bit of faith in the Sangha jewel. But when there's some difficulty, some suffering, there's always the Sangha is always there for us. And in my life as a nun, a monastic, I've also come across difficult things, had difficulties. But I've never had a difficulty where the Sangha hasn't been there for me. So that is why I'm really inspired by the second verse. It's when we have some difficulty or some danger come. When we have some difficulty, there always the Sangha is there right away. The other day I heard Sister Sister Yakngim, say that Sangha has a heart. And she said that because she was thinking about us taking care of some of the sisters, taking care of a sister in the lower hamlet who is very sick. And she said the Sangha has a heart. And that is in a way why we don't want to go to a place where there's no suffering, because we know that suffering is what waters the seed of compassion in us. And we don't have to go very far to find suffering. In our own Sangha there is suffering. And around us also, of course, there is suffering. During this winter retreat, I wanted to make an object of my looking deeply, that mental formation that we call discrimination and division. Because we see in the world so much discrimination, racial discrimination, religious discrimination, and there's no part of the world which isn't free from discrimination. Maybe we see it very, very clearly in the United States, in the racial discrimination, but other parts, and we know we've been through discrimination tragedies in these past months and still going through them. And another discrimination tragedy is in Myanmar, in Bangladesh, is Buddhists discriminating against the Muslims. And that is really a black mark on Buddhism. So all of us practitioners, I feel we need to look deeply inside to see in us, in each of us, there is a seed of discrimination. And when I look in myself, I can see that. It may not be racial discrimination, but I discriminate against, I suppose we should say discriminate against. I put people, I put sisters, I put brothers in boxes. And those boxes might have other things in them. And when I put a sister in that box, she also has to absorb some of the other things that are in that box that may not be positive. So I have rather a big head. Mm. So this is myself. Yeah, my head is not as big as that. Sometimes I'm a bit big-headed. Now, this here is what I call my shadow. So each of us within our mind, we have a shadow. And that is, we can call our shadow side, if we like. These are the things I do not like about myself, and I don't want other people to see them. So they are the things I don't like. So all of us, we have that in our subconscious. It may not be in our conscious mind, but in our subconscious mind, we have some things that we don't like about ourselves. And we might even not consciously recognize that we have that. For instance, sometimes when someone becomes attached to someone else, they really don't like that. In their subconscious mind, they don't like the fact that they've become attached. And they may even not realize it. Well, I think somehow, but in their conscious mind, they can't accept it. So when you say, oh, I think there's a little bit attachment between you and another, you say, oh, no. That's not me. Because that is, you don't accept that part of your mind. So what I feel is the difficulty about this is that if you are not clearly aware, if I am not clearly aware of my shadow, then what do I do with it? I project it. I project my shadow. You know, when you walk in the sunshine, then your shadow, it falls on the earth. And if somebody else is walking alongside of you, your shadow might fall onto the person who's walking alongside of you. So that is what happens. What your subconscious mind can do. Suddenly the things you don't like in yourself, you see them in another person. So that is why Thai said to us that if you see somebody coming towards you and you have the idea, I don't really want to look at that person, you look at them straight and you say, hello myself. Because that person is just a projection of your own consciousness. When you meet that other person, you're meeting your own consciousness. So when we're doing shining light, you notice that in yourself, that the faults you most easily see in the person you're shining light on are the faults you yourself have. And if you listen to other people shining light, you also see that. It doesn't mean don't shine light on things that you have. And many of us, when we're shining light, we say, I know I have this too. I've seen it in you. It gives the other person a chance because The other person probably does have that too. So whenever I see in someone something I don't like, then I always ask, oh, that is my shadow. Yeah, and I come back to see that thing in myself. So that is one of the boxes, the discriminations. That is a deep discrimination, a discrimination against our shadow side. We don't like it. Sometimes we don't even want to see it. And it's like we put that shadow inside a box, and we don't want to open it. In the Western culture, we talk about a mythical character called Pandora. Huh? Mm. And the gods gave to her me over there. The gods gave her. What did you say? The gods gave her a jar. You know, these big jars that you have to keep food in, to make miso, to make miso in. Yeah. And they said, don't take the lid off. But she's very curious, so she takes the lid off, and all the bad things come out. Mm. So that's one box that we have. A box we put our shadow side in. And in that box, which has our shadow side, we can put other people as well. People who represent our shadow side for us, we may put into that box. And that's a box we discriminate against. And in the Vajracharika Sutra, we talk about four boxes. That our mind, our consciousness construes those 4 boxes. And the first box is myself. That's me, huh? This is myself. This is my species. This is the living species. And this is how long a person or I live. So when I put myself in a box, I meditate to see that I am made up of 5 skandhas: body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. And when I look at those 5 skandhas, I see that at every moment there is input into the 5 skandhas, and there is output from the 5 skandhas, so that I no longer see that I am separate from the other species. The second box that we have, but in between these boxes, human and I, there's many other boxes. And those boxes can be Buddhist, yellow, black, white. Many boxes that we have. And we know that in our brain, we have an area for recognizing faces. Part of our brain is dedicating to recognize somebody by their face. So we recognize the color of somebody's face and we put them in a box. Causes a lot of suffering. And then we have this box called human. We have other boxes we call ants. Say we take the human box and the ants box. So I don't know if ants discriminate against each other, but there's many different species of ants. Some are quite big and some are very small. And some are middling size, so there's different kinds of ants. And we call them all ants. We don't call one sort of ant something and another sort of another thing. They're all ants. Now then there's another kind of species, it's called primates. It's like the ant species. There's many kind of primates. And I don't know what primate is in Vietnamese. Never mind. Primates include apes, monkeys, what other, the other one that makes a lot of noise and goes up a tree. Yeah, chimpanzees is another one. Anyway, there's many things. And you know what else it includes? Humans, yeah. But somehow we think that the humans are separate, something separate. If we, as a biologist, we would see that the middling-sized ants and the big ants and the small ants, they all have almost the same genes. And monkeys and chimpanzees and humans, they all have the same, almost the same, exactly the same genes. So in fact, when we look at ourselves as being something rather special, according to a biologist who look at the genetic structure, we're not special at all. So anyway, that is something we've been recognizing in our own time. And our own time we refer to as, you know that geologically we have ages. We have the Stone Age, the Iron Age, the Pleistocene Age. We have many ages to know what was the geology. And now people say we are in an age which is called Anthropocene, and I don't know what that is in Vietnamese either. Maybe. Anyway, this word anthropo, it means human. So this means this geological age is called the human age. And if somebody had said that to me 10 years ago, oh, this is the Anthropocene age, I would have said, oh, human beings are very proud of themselves, aren't they? Attributing a geological age to the human species, as if there's something so important. But now I realize that Anthropocene is an admission on the part of human species of our own failure. We are changing the geology of the world, of our planet, Mother Earth, in a way that is very negative. So when we talk about Anthropocene, we're talking about our own failure. We're recognizing that. As just one tiny species of the animal species, we, just like one kind of ant could do a lot of damage, but doesn't. We've done a lot of damage. And the reason why is because we cannot see that we are animals, like the other animals. And we don't know how to express our love and our concern for the animal, the plant, and the mineral species. Because we put ourselves in a box, and we put the other animals in a box. So this is something that the Buddha taught about how we put things in boxes with our brain. But we also know that our brain is very plastic. For instance, if I have a box with my shadow side in it, in which I put other people in that box as well as myself, then I don't have to be caught in that box. When I understand what I'm doing, that I am making this box, I can stop making it, and I can look at things in a different way. So that is the thing about our brain. We don't have to, although the way our brain is organized is in different, like there's a geography in there, one part that recognizes this and one part that recognizes that. Our brain is also able to act as a whole, so that we can recognize when we're making divisions and we can stop doing it. So that is the wonderful thing about the practice. And of course we all have to do that work for ourselves. Yeah. And in doing that work we become more aware, and we can help others to become more aware. So the first, the second, and the third mindfulness trainings of the order of interbeing are very useful to help us to get out of these boxes. Because we have another box too, That is Mahayana and Hinayana. And we distinguish those two boxes. Of course, it's wonderful that we had the Mahayana teachers who were able to renew Buddhism, to go back to the source Buddhism and find the things that had been lost from source Buddhism and put them back into Buddhism. So we really needed that movement. But then there's another side to that movement, which was to create a box, to say, oh, we are Mahayana and you are Hinayana. So we're the great vehicle and you're the little vehicle. And in ethics, we have what is called altruistic ethics. Altruistic means ta. It's like for the other, taking care of the other. The ethics which is aimed at taking care of others. And we have what is called the ego ethics. There's also a kind of ethics called ego ethics. And that is the kind of ethics where you just take care of yourself. And normally we would say, we would discriminate a little bit. We'd say ego ethics, that is Hinayana. And altruistic ethics, that is Mahayana. But if we look again and we see that we really take care of ourselves, we practice the Satipatthana and the Anapanasati Sutta in order to take care of our body and our mind. We are taking care of others at the same time. We're taking care of our mother, our father, our Sangha, and our Sangha is taking care of the world. Together we can build the future. So, taking care of ourselves, we can take care of others. So we have to be careful when we make these discriminations between Mahayana and Hinayana. In Thailand, the monks practice what we call Theravada. It's more polite than Hinayana. They don't practice what is called Mahayana. But many of those monks have become enlightened and have helped many people through their practice of Satipatthana and Anapanasati. So that is why in the Unified Buddhist Church, or the teachings that Thai has been given to us, Thai has emphasized so much those two sutras. And sometimes in the history of Mahayana, those two sutras have been looked down on. They've even been banned in some Mahayana monasteries as being seen to be too egotistical. So that's just another box. The sutra that Thai introduced to the Sangha a long time ago. I think I was still in Plum Village. Must have been in the early 1990s. Is the Kasi Bharadvaja Sutta. And when I was in Green Mountain Dharma Center, the abbot in the Rungphom, in the Maple Forest Monastery, who at one time the monks from Maple Forest came to stay with the nuns we decided we'd do things together. So the monks came to the nuns' hamlet to stay. Well, in the end, we decided we wouldn't do things together anymore. So the monks went back to Maple Forest. But the abbot, his very young abbot, I think maybe like Brother Phap, but he was younger then. But he's no longer with us. Brother Phap Nguyen, he liked this sutra very much, and we used to read it in the morning after doing the sitting meditation. So I thought I would reintroduce it. You've probably heard Thai teach this sutra also. It's about a Brahmin. It's in the chapter about Brahmins in the Samyutta Nikaya. I think it's Samyutta Nikaya 7:11, chapter 7, sutra number 11. But it's also in the Sutta Nipata, which is a little bit like in Vietnamese, in Chinese, it's in the Samyukta Agama. Samyukta Agama is the tap. Okay, not from tap. Samyukta Agama is what in Chinese? In Vietnamese, huh? Tap Aham, huh? Tap Aham. So it's number 98. If you want to look. And I think that the one in the version in Vietnamese, in Chinese, and the version in the Sutta Nipata are more original than the one in the Samyutta Nikaya. So it's about a Brahmin. And this Brahmin has a lot of land and many plows to plow the land. He probably has other people to plow for him, but still because he has many plows, his name is Plow or Plowman. And when the time for plowing comes, he has 500 plowmen, because he has 500 plows. The 500 is not really important. It's a way of saying many, many, many in Pali. And so he needs 500 plowmen to walk behind the plows. And before they start to plow, he wants to give them something to eat. So they all have, it says in the commentary, a silver dish to eat their rice and curry out of before they start to plow. And at that time, the Buddha is going on the alms round. And so the Buddha is with his monks, he stands there with his bowl before the plowman, the Brahman plowman, and the Brahman plowman comes up to the Buddha and he says, Lord Buddha, you don't plow, you don't sow seeds, you don't cultivate the land. How can you expect to have something to eat? This is not exactly the Indian tradition. Because in the tradition of India at that time, you had the Brahmins who came from the Caucasus, from the north, and then you also had the original inhabitants of India, who were much darker in color. So there's already some kind of discrimination. And among the original inhabitants of India, there was a spiritual tradition. It's represented by the Shramanas. And the Shramanas were like a little bit, the Buddha was sometimes called a Shramana, Mahashramana, the great Shramana, yeah, or Mahamuni sometimes. A Shramana was someone who had left the home life in order to practice the spiritual life and never worked and relied on begging in order to receive the midday meal. So there was also that tradition in India, but maybe this was a Brahmin village, so maybe that tradition was not there. So instead of offering food to the Buddha, he asked that question. How can you expect to eat? Do you sometimes ask that question of yourself? This morning when I was eating my breakfast, I thought, my goodness, I've been in the Sangha for 34 years now. I've been living in Plum Village, or Plum Village Monastery, for 34 years. 34, I think. Anyway, never mind, not so important. Anyway, yeah, and then I say, oh, and every day, except when I've been fasting, but that was my own choice, every day I've received 3 meals. I wonder how many meals I've received. And at that point, I thought, I haven't done any, well, I have been tree vunga, I have been doing the gardening sometimes, but only planting vegetable. I've never planted rice. And I thought how grateful I am. And I felt very happy because I felt so grateful. But also I thought, well, I have to practice. So I think that's what the Buddha's talking about when he's asked, where's your plough? And then the Brahmin says to him, then the Buddha answers when he says, how can you expect to eat? You don't plough, you don't cultivate, you don't sow the seeds. And he replied, the Buddha replied, I do plough, I do cultivate, I do sow the seeds. And then the Brahmin said, show me then, where's your plough? Where's your seeds? And then the Buddha answered in the form of a verse, which I gave yesterday. And I think that we can make this verse into a song, but I don't dare to sing it because I don't know if I will get to the end. And I think I maybe need to modify the translation in order to make it more musical. But if somebody can do that, I think it would be nice. So, this is the Buddha's answer. Faith is my seed. Faith in Sanskrit is the word shraddha. And shraddha is linked to the heart. It's linked to the word heart, core, cordis, cœur in French. Shraddha. So it means confidence. It means trust. What do we have confidence in? What do we have trust in? The first thing we have to have trust in is ourself, confidence in ourself. And that is how the Buddha has taught that we have the Buddha nature. Trust in our Buddha nature is like a seed we have to take care of. And then the next kind of confidence that we need is trust in the Dharma. Trust in the teachings that we have been given, the teachings that we practice. And that trust comes when we experience that these teachings, they really help. They're not just words, they bring me joy in my daily life. They help me transform. And the next confidence or trust that we have, of course, is in the Sangha jewel. Sangha jewel is not perfect. But in difficult moments we see very clearly how the Sangha can come together. And they can do things that nobody could do on their own. And I think when Thai Phap Lin gave a Dharma talk in August, Thai said that what we need is communities. We have to do these things as a community. And so building Sangha is so important. However small our Sangha is, we need to build it. However big our Sangha is, we need to build it. And the first way of building Sangha is to be a cell in the Sangha, to go together, to be part of the river. I received a letter, and I think others of us also received a letter from Sister Tam Mui, Sister Samadhi, who is presently in England taking care of her mother. And she can receive the teachings online, and she is practicing the 3-month retreat with us. And one thing that she said in that letter was that her appreciation for the Lower Hamlet Sangha has grown while she's been away. And she sees more clearly now the benefits of the Sangha than she had seen while she was in the Sangha. So she can feel part of the Sangha during the 3-month retreat, although she can't be with us. And it happens to all of us sometimes. We have to be with a sick parent to take care. But it doesn't mean to say that we become a drop of water that evaporates. Because although we're not physically in the Sangha, we are in our heart, we are in the Sangha. So we don't evaporate. We continue to go with the Sangha, to flow with the Sangha. And sometimes when we're living in the Sangha, we stand, our drop of water jumps out of the river. So we have to ask if our drop of water, when we're living in the Sangha, it jumps onto the river bank, will it evaporate? So there are cases when it does evaporate, and there are cases when it doesn't evaporate. So sometimes another few drops, they also jump out of the river embrace that drop and help it jump back into the river again. So in this song we sang, we are singing together to light up the fact that we have each other. This autumn retreat, because of the virus, we are not able to come up and sing together before the Dharma talk. I think that when we can come up and sing together before the Dharma talk again, that we will appreciate it very much. Because it's a wonderful opportunity to practice no self. You completely forget that you are an individual and you just sing with the Sangha. Like those of us who played in an orchestra, we forget that we are playing a separate thing on our own. We become part of the music. So Thai gave us that Dharma door of coming up and singing together, so that we can feel that we are a river flowing together. And of course, walking meditation is the same. It's so easy when we can let go of our thinking that makes us a separate self and just flow with the Sangha, step with the Sangha. Feel yourself floating on the energy of mindfulness and concentration of the Sangha. And sitting meditation is the same. You don't have to try very hard. If you can just allow yourself to be carried by the mindfulness and concentration of the Sangha. So we have faith in the Sangha. The second line I translate as the flame of bodhicitta is the rain that helped the seed to grow. The word is tapas, and tapas means heat. And sometimes it has a good meaning and sometimes it doesn't have a good meaning. So we all have that warmth, that feeling in our heart. That is what makes us want to leave our family and practice the monastic way. It may be because we have seen that practicing as an aspirant, we have been able to transform. We have been able to feel the joy that we hadn't been able to feel before. And we want to continue that for the rest of our life, or for the rest of five years, because of what we've experienced. And that is a very strong flame of something that we want to do. And it may be that we have seen how much suffering there is in the world. And we've asked ourselves many times the question, how can I help relieve the suffering in the world? And we have seen that the Sangha is able to do that. We have seen how that when people come to a retreat or go on an online retreat, they completely transform, their lives are changed. And so we have that deep desire that we want to be that way of life. And that is a very strong desire. It's like a flame in us that is burning. And it keeps the faith, it helps the faith to grow and to flourish, so the faith, the confidence doesn't remain a seed, but becomes a tree. But we have to remember that when we shave our head, that desire is very strong. And we may think it will always be there. But we need to keep taking care of it, because when we come across difficulties, it may disappear. And so the feeling that we have when we shave our head, we should store it well in our alaya consciousness. And when we come across difficulties, we bring it up from alaya consciousness and we say, that is what you really wanted. And you keep the flame alive. Insight is the plough yoked to the oxen. Insight is prajna. Insight is our understanding. Our understanding about the boxes that we have created for ourselves. Our understanding of each other. Our understanding someone that we have a difficulty with. Taking the time to understand the others. We take refuge in the Sangha. We put down our roots in the Sangha. But when we talk about taking refuge in the Sangha, putting our roots in the Sangha, we mean we are putting our roots down in the different members of the Sangha. So we understand the difficulties of the different members in our Sangha, those around us. And when we understand the difficulties, we no longer want to blame. And we also understand the positive things. Sometimes when we see something negative in someone, we put them in that box and we forget the positive things. So that person doesn't have a chance to get into the positive, into our positive box. Yeah, this is something I've noticed myself doing. So insight here means understanding in a very practical way. Understanding our own difficulties, understanding the difficulties of others, and having that insight that can help us overcome them. The next word is shame. Shame is the pole. And shame is a word that people don't like. It has its negative side, but it also has its positive side. And the Buddha said that if we don't have shame, we will destroy ourselves very quickly, destroy our planet very quickly. So shame is something very important. So there are two sides to shame. One is you feel an inferiority complex that stops you from doing the things that you could do and the things that you want to do. And the other side is that when you are going down a path that is causing you to suffer and others to suffer, you don't go down that path anymore. You say, oh, I don't need to go down that path, and you feel ashamed for going down that path. So there's two kinds of shame. There's one kind of shame that you see for yourself. I don't want to do that. And you stop doing it. And there's the other kind of shame that somebody else sees that you shouldn't be doing that. And they tell you, and you say, thank you for telling me, I won't do that again. So there's two parts. For instance, you come in the meditation hall maybe, you blow your nose very loudly in the meditation hall. And then you don't realize, but then your sister says to you, oh, sister, in the five manners, they say we should not blow our nose in the meditation hall. And then you have shame, and so you say, okay, I won't do that anymore. It's only an example. And then, but on the other side, you could say, what a silly fine manner, huh? I have allergy, I have to blow my nose loudly, and you keep doing it. So that is what would be called a lack of shame. Not able to see when somebody points something out to you, and not able to see for yourself. So shame is necessary part of the plow. And the next thing is the rope, the thought. Some parts of the plow, they have to be tied to another part, or they have to be tied to the animals that are pulling the plow. And that is the rope. And the rope here is called manas. Huh? Manas is the rope. So we all know the word manas, and usually we think about it in terms of the seventh consciousness, the consciousness that makes the ego. And but the teachings about the eight consciousnesses are not teachings that were exactly given by the Buddha. They were developed by the ancestral teachers later on. So manas in when the Buddha is teaching, it has a slightly different meaning, but it means the thinking. It often is translated as thinking or thought. And we know that the seventh consciousness, that it is always thinking in order to make an ego, in order to strengthen the ego, to prove that I really do exist as a separate self. So that is the function of our always thinking, to prove that I'm better or I'm worse than, to prove that I've done well or haven't done well. Always thinking, manas. And we turn it off during the eating time. That is what we turn off. But we also know that thinking is necessary, and we also have right thinking. We can use thinking in our practice. We can use right thinking to help us understand more. And therefore, thought here, it will mean a right thinking. And the next I left out, the next line I left out when I wrote I'm sorry about that. You can please put it in. Mindfulness is the goad or the plowshare. The goad is something that is like a stick, and when the oxen is lazy or something, I don't know, lazy or tired or doesn't move forward, then the plowman will poke the oxen with a stick. And the plowshare is the sharp wooden part or the metal part of the plow that turns up the earth. So I don't know which is the right meaning here, or whether they both should be there. So when I think about mindfulness being a stick to poke me, I think mainly about the mindfulness of impermanence. Because mindfulness of impermanence is something that really makes me practice. Sometimes mindfulness of suffering also makes me practice. So I need something to poke me sometimes. And sometimes I will look at the news. I don't like looking at the news very often. But if I feel that not enough compassion, or I get caught up too much in my own little difficulties, then I need to look at the news or read the news a bit, because I see that suffering out there is enormous. And if I get caught in my little suffering, my little difficulties, it's not right somehow. And it helps me put my own difficulties into proportion. And then there's the other side of it, that if you watch the news too much, then you become frustrated because you feel there's nothing you can do. It's too enormous. So we have to be careful how we use the goad. Don't poke yourself too hard and too often. But be mindful of when you need to make your practice more constant, more effective in your own life. The weeding is done by the truth. Liberation comes by gentleness. The word soracha, gentleness. We don't need to be a hero. We don't need to grit our teeth. And there are times when we need to be a hero. I'm sorry, sister. Yeah, there are times when we need to be a hero. But the practice doesn't have to be force ourselves. Diligence is the yoke-bearing ox. The practice of right effort is like the ox that can take us forward. The buffaloes are known to be hard working. We know about the right efforts. It's a matter of watering seeds or not watering seeds in our daily life. Taking us to release from attachment. There's all kinds of attachment that we can have. Our attachments can be our expectations or our yearnings for something. our expectations for being praised. There's a kind of attachment. We are expecting always to be praised or to be noticed. It goes and does not turn back. Wherever it is gone, it does not grieve. This refers to our going forward in the practice. In Plum Village, we go we go from hamlet to hamlet. I feel that sometimes I've been sent. I've gone to the United States to practice in the United States. I've gone to Germany to practice in Germany. And now I've come back to Plum Village again. It reminds me a little bit of when I first ordained, being in the lower hamlet. I remember those times. But anyway, so maybe we do come back. In Plum Village we go to all the hamlets and then we come back again. Also go to Thailand. Wherever it has gone, it does not grieve. That is something to do with our bodhicitta. It brings us to places that we think in the first place we don't want to go there. But the Sangha sends us there. And so when we go to that place, we put our whole heart into practicing where we've been sent. We don't complain about where we've been sent. So this is happens sometimes to us. Nowadays we can choose more which hamlet we go to. Or we like the look of that hamlet, or we've heard the good things about that hamlet. But in the past we were sent to a hamlet and we just went and we did our best, and we saw that hamlet is also Plum Village, is also the Plum Village Dharma doors. So ploughing in this way, there is the fruit of no birth and no death. This kind of ploughing is liberation from all ill being. As we spend time in the Sangha, as Master Guishan says, it's like walking in the mist, and our clothes become wet without us having to walk in the rain. And if we listen to the teachings and we practice the teachings, as time passes, they penetrate, and we are able to have the insight into no birth and no death. We're able to experience liberation. But we cannot decide, I think I will become enlightened in 20 years' time or 10 years' time. It may not even be in this lifetime. But doesn't really matter. And another thing about enlightenment is not an individual matter. And there is no way to enlightenment. Enlightenment is the way. So if we have to, we don't want to go up into a cave on the mountain in order to become enlightened. We want to become enlightened with our brothers and sisters. What is the book? Âm Mày Ngủ. What the book is called, Hermitage Among the Clouds. Thầy say something in that book about the young novice who wants to become a high monk, become famous or something, and then realizes that in the sangha we don't have the high monk. We do things together. We become enlightened together, and if we have to wait, we can't become enlightened as quickly as we wanted to, because we want to become enlightened with the sangha and not as an individual.